Welcome to Lion Pride Sports. I'm Andrew Rogers. Joining me today for the Coaches Edition is head coach of the football team, Jed Stugart. Once again, Coach, thanks again.
Sept, Andrew, good to be here with you again.
Awesome job this weekend. A big win for the team, 51 points scored. Just tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it's kind of, I feel like we played 3 great quarters, and we took one quarter there in the second quarter to, I kind of joked that we went up 20-0 in the first quarter, and I think we took the second quarter to celebrate our first quarter win. And then we came out in halftime and started playing again. So it was kind of fun, just to go down. Anytime you get a road win, and it's important, and especially the way we kind of played the second half. I think we came out of halftime and we played with a whole different energy and a whole different focus, put 28 points up in the third quarter, and then kind of closed it out in the fourth with just a sustaining running the football and running the clock, and the kind of stuff that you like to see when you're putting games away is being able to run the ball and control the clock. So for the most part, other than just lack of focus in the second quarter a little bit, I was pretty pleased the way we played in all 3 phases.
And then as a follow-up question to that, what was the motto that you preached to the guys in the locker room coming after that weak second quarter?
Well, it was a little bit of honestly, just a lot of frustration, not to the extent where there was just a lot of negativity or a lot of yelling and screaming. It was more or less, just kind of trying to get these guys. We've got such a young team, and they're so talented, and I think just the way we played the first half, well, I should say the second quarter, it was a little bit like challenging them of, why is it you guys can't put all this together for 4 quarters? Why, you're a talented team. Let's go out, and plus a little bit of incentive to, basically just kind of set our tone of practice is going to change next week if we don't turn this around, to kind of start saying, okay, hey, we've got to start. So they came out with a whole different attitude, a whole different energy. I've kind of preached that all week, that we're a whole different ball club when we play with energy. So that's been our theme this whole week.
And I would say one of the players that came out strong from the first quarter to the last quarter was Kahneman. A big performance for him, a record-setting performance, 4 receiving touchdowns at the Lindenwood single-game record. Talk to me about what you liked about him.
Well, Eric's such a force. I mean, he's so athletic. He's a tight end, but yet he's like a receiver, so he's hard to cover. And especially in the red zone, you got to make some decisions where you put him as a defense to guard him. And then on top of that, he's so athletic. Cade Brister did a great job putting balls in places where only he could catch it. Same with Max Mailer, had a touchdown pass to him as well. And then, I think, he's just so athletic, and he just jumps, and he catches one-handed when the balls are he's a pretty impressive player. And he didn't play last year. He basically redshirted last year, and so he sat out of here. He hasn't played football in 2 years, so this was only his second football game. I only anticipate him really just kind of taken off this year.
And you mentioned his red shirt. Do you think him participating on the scout team with Cade Brister last season really impacted his performance this year so far? 5 touchdowns throughout the first 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, he's I think both those guys, really taking a lot of pride in being servicing our defense last year, and Eric really spoke to that this year about how it made him appreciate, not being able to play last year on the field. But boy, he brought that every day in practice, and same with Cade and a bunch of other guys that really took a lot of pride in that. And it's earned them a lot of playing time. It's earned them kind of what they're doing today. But I think you could see a chemistry between Cade and Eric last year because of that.
And then with Eric, do you find him more as a red zone target over anything else?
Well, I think it's just that's where his numbers have shown. If he makes catches throughout the field too. Anytime an athletic tight end like that's probably always going to be a good target for a quarterback, because a lot of times the tight end's the last guy that's covered. And so, no, we don't use him just down there. That's just kind of where his numbers have shown up. But I teased him a little bit because in the middle of the field on just a little stick route, which is basically run straight ahead for 10 yards and turn around, he dropped the easiest ball of the day on Saturday. But when he's got people hanging on him, he jumps up one hand and brings stuff in. So, a little humor there with him to say, yeah, the easy catches are the hardest sometimes. But, no, we use them throughout the field.
Yeah, the wide open catches.
Yeah, the wide open catches. Those are the ones that are the toughest sometimes.
And now, taking a step away from passing, let's go to the run game. It seems like you like to go toward the running back committee. We saw three plus players run for 10-plus carries on Saturday night. Is there a reason to go the running back committee?
It's just been kind of historically for me in what we've done. In fact, my whole staff, I mean, we've been together a long time. We've always been fortunate to have talented running backs. And, a 12 or 11 game season is long. Especially this league is very physical. And I've always believed in, the durability of our backs, and I know every running back would like to carry the ball for 35, 40, carries a game. And they like the thought of that, but after the game, they wouldn't like the feeling of that. It's a physical game. And so when you have talented backs like we do, I think it's also defensively, you really have to kind of pay attention to what different backs are like. And even in preparation, I think it makes people pay a little bit more attention to the type of backs that's in the ball game. And so, we've always kind of historically did that, and we've got the talent here to do the same thing.
And when you say paying attention, I think you really did that with Cam Sanders, listed as the #1 guy going into week 1, and it seems more now you're using him more as a goal line guy, 6 carries, 31 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and it was you know what, and it kind of looked that way in the first drive. Nash actually had some really nice runs and helped get us down to the red zone and get us in the tight red zone. Actually, on a little swing pass, got kind of a cheap shot there at the late hit right in the gut, kind of knocked the wind out of him, and then Cam came in and ended up, and so it looks like we featured him as a goal line back, but he's had two rushing touchdowns down there, but no, that's not specifically what he is, but I think Cam too, where he came from last year, didn't have a lot of carries. This is kind of again another fresh year for him as he's kind of getting in the mold of being a running back and carrying the ball a little bit more than he has in the past. So he really kind of made a big jump from the first week to this week just on how he's running the ball. When he puts his pad levels down, he's an entire different back.
And last week we talked about Cade Brister's performance, and we kind of leaned more toward he was rushing the ball a lot and didn't have as many pass attempts. This game, completely different. I think those jitters were gone. He was 20 of 33, threw for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. But then he also made plays with his feet. He just didn't run as much as he threw.
Right, and like we talked about last week, it all just hinges on our offensive line, and that was who we really challenged. Coming out of week 1, and if we can give Cade the time and the pockets there, he's going to feel more comfortable to throw the ball downfield because he is a very accurate passer. And so, the difference this week, we made some changes on the offensive line. We kind of moved guys around, and we felt like we found five of our guys right now that's a good chemistry. And it made a big difference. I mean, you could see Cade was confident in the pocket. The pocket was there, and he's able to throw. I think the moment quarterbacks start feeling pressure, they're looking for escape routes more than they're looking downfield. And so, as long as I don't pull any punches. I let the offensive line know our offense hinges on what you guys do up front, the physicality and the run game and the pass game. It starts with you guys, and they rose to the occasion last week. Got to transfer that into this week.
And then you also mentioned Max Smiler coming into the game a little bit there in the second quarter. What was the idea of doing that?
Oh, occasionally, especially with young quarterbacks. Again, it's just something that we've done in the past where we were not. There was nothing that Cade was doing. We said that a week before the game. I mean, that Sunday or Monday, we made the decision that Max was going to come in and take the 4th series this game. Regardless, number one, just to keep Max sharp and make sure he's prepped, knowing that he's going into a game. I think that helps develop quarterbacks. Sometimes, if you just say, hey, we'll try to get you in a game, and they never do, then they're not mentally prepared as much. But when you're going into a game, that, hey, I'm paying attention all week, and it's just a way to kind of season quarterbacks in case you have to make a quarterback change due to injury or whatever. It was a little bit about getting Max some reps and getting him seasoned too in more live football games. So it was nothing to do with what Cade was doing. It's just a little bit of another strategy we've done in the past especially when you got a young quarterback and you're trying to make sure you're developing both a little bit. So.
And then you talk about, you know, sharing the football a lot. 9 players making receptions in the game, a strategic look, I should say, from you guys, just different guys getting open at different times throughout the game. Do you like getting everyone involved in that type of aspect?
Well, you know, you know, I think it's not a strategy of just say, hey, we're trying to get everybody the ball. I think it's just a matter of, you know, number one, the quality depth that we have, a lot of rotation, keeping guys fresh. But, you know, again, I think it really says a lot about our quarterback and understanding that he's not just locking in on one receiver. You know, Eric Kahneman can be a great comfort zone. He's big, he's tall, and he catches everything. And you can start to lock in on just one guy, and that can start to get you in trouble. But, you know, it tells you that, you know, you got quarterbacks reading. You know, Cade's reading the defense. He's seeing, you know, where the ball needs to go based on the coverage, and it means we got a lot of guys that are capable of catching the ball and running with it too. So, you know, you kind of like to see that distribution that way.
And now let's look into this week. Come Saturday, big day, family day. With it being family day, do you feel a lot of players are going to be pretty excited to see a lot, or if you know, or a lot of the families of the players coming out to the game?
Yeah, the school's done a good job. We got a lot of cool things going on, and it is fun. We you know, on Fridays we have a quick walkthrough. We'll have a quick team dinner, but they you know, they're done by 6:30, and it gives them a lot of time to spend with their families, and even Saturday morning. I love families. I love this day, and I love that our guys can spend time. They've been away, especially those that have been further away. Haven't seen probably their families since the start of fall camp. So you know, it does bring a different type of enthusiasm and excitement. Everybody wants to go out and play hard for their families, and I don't see it as a distraction. It's more of an excitement day, and we're looking forward to it.
And then what type of preparations are you guys looking ahead against UCO?
Well, you know, it's you know, sometimes you got to go back to the past. You know, I always say to know where you're going, you got to know where you've been. And so, you know, we go back and kind of look at what they did to us last year. You know, they beat us last year in our first game. My first game as a Lion, and our first game as a staff and as that team last year. And so we, you know, go back. They've graduated a lot of guys, so there is a little bit of some new to them too. But they're sticking to what they've done, and so the preparation is, you know, paying attention. You know, they've had a couple quarterbacks they're using. One's a thrower, a little bit more they use in the run, and so, you know, we've been preparing for that. You know, defensively, you know, if you look on the stats, they haven't been as strong defensively against the run, but that does not mean that they're not good against the run. You know, I think you got to be careful looking at stats. But prep-wise, you know, I always believe in, you know, I've always believed in being a defensive coordinator in my past. I was always one that felt like we did what we did. We didn't really change every week to what other teams do. We kind of felt like teams needed to adjust to us. That's a little bit of our philosophy is, hey, we're going to take into the game what we do, which we want to keep established in the run game and make teams adjust to us. Doesn't mean we don't like passing it and things, but I like establishing the run a little bit. And, you know, so we've had a good week of prep, but most of our prep this week's been emphasizing energy, playing with energy. We're an entirely different team when we play with it.
Well, great, Coach. Thank you again so much for coming over here and joining us for this edition of Lion Pride Sports. When we come back, we will be joined by David Nicholson of the Lindenwood Track and Field team. He'll be next on Lion Pride Sports.
Son, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Lion Pride Sports. I'm Andrew Rogers. Joining me now, once again, as promised, is Coach David Nicholson of the Lindenwood track and field team and also the cross-country team. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And Coach, you're in your first year. You know, what do you like most about Missouri so far?
Ooh, the parks. The parks that are surrounding the campus and that are inside St. Louis is wonderful. The Parks and Rec department does a great job. And as runners, you know, we're always in there. So it's running from campus, going to some local parks and hanging out, getting some work done, and then coming back. That's probably the biggest thing so far.
And with you loving running so much, did you run all the way from the East Coast here for your new job?
Definitely not. Definitely not did run. It was a long drive, beautiful scenery coming all the way through the Midwest. First time out here, so yeah, definitely not taking that type of run. I'm not a marathoner.
Yeah, well, that's a little more than a marathon, too,
Yeah.
just to add. That would be a long run. That's more of a joke.
Yeah, that'd be a nice long run.
Yeah. Now, tell me, though, your first season at Lindenwood University. How's the coaching going so far in your new spot?
Everything's going really well. Cross-country season has already opened up. They're in very good shape and continuing to get there as we have a nice long season this year. The track and field team has started practice, and everybody's getting themselves in shape and rounding into form. So everything's been going great so far.
And now you mentioned that cross country's already down and going, and now that you're running downhill with everybody that's or all of your athletes, I should say, who's your standout performer this year?
This year on the men's side, we'll be looking for a few guys: Austin Crow, Jared Broadbrooks. Zach McKinley is another one of our guys that's going to be stepping up. On the ladies' side, Najwa is going to be a big returner for us, as well as Kaylee Brower and a freshman, Nadia Pulliam, for us. So
very cool. So you have a kind of your work cut out for you, I should say.
Yeah. We have a great group at the top and a lot of really excited team members on the cross-country side that are really going to hold us down. I think that we're going to have a great season this year.
And then when you go into like a cross-country meet, me being a runner in the past, I do run still on the side, but not anything like you guys. I don't know if my time would really live up to expectation. But anyway, when you go into like a track meet or cross-country meet, it's normally early in the morning. What do you kind of like tell your athletes to eat and drink before meet?
Well, everybody has their own things. Usually a lot of that prep is taking place 48, 72 hours beforehand, hydrating, making sure that we're eating fairly clean, staying away from all of the fried foods and greasy burgers and things like that. Pasta is an easy staple that everybody's probably familiar with, but something that really doesn't kick in for 48 hours. So we just want to make sure we're staying light, we have enough energy to get us through the race. The morning of, you're just talking about water, granola, oatmeal, yogurts, fruit, veggies, things like that, to make sure that we just have enough energy for the race. They're running for me half hour, 25 minutes, so sustainable energy comes well before the race day.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And now, when you talk about coaching cross country and coaching Lindenwood men's track and field and women's track and field, do you find any like differences in coaching style at all, or do you feel like they just kind of run together and mesh?
Well, we have a great group of young men and women, and because they're together the majority of the time, we do have that kind of mesh like you've referenced. Yes, we have to make sure that we are having differences in training blocks for the distance group, the sprints, hurdles, jumps, the throwers, but we're lucky that we get along all really well. And then I have a great coaching staff. Coach Randy Cole heads up the distance group, and we're able to make sure that those groups, the males and females, we kind of combine and we have a good training environment.
And then you were a runner in college. You ran the 400 meters in your collegiate career. Do you ever find it difficult to coach the field events over the actual running events because you weren't really a true participant of the field events?
So in coaching track, just like in any other sport, you're going to have to coach various positions. For us, it's just various events. So a long time ago when I was a graduate assistant, you had to coach hurdles, you had to coach field events, things that were outside of your normal range when you were an athlete. So it's something that I've got accustomed to. I had a previous young man at my previous school who was a great field event. He was a long jumper. It's something that I've become very accustomed to. So no, not really that big of a deal anymore. Maybe in my younger years, but not now.
So you were basically thrown into the fire then when you grad assistant. You're basically doing whatever job they tell you to do, and you had to love it and go with it.
Yep.
Which is really cool, because I think that's what probably really got you into coaching in the first place.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you want to start coaching to help young athletes and young people reach their goals and to be able to get an education, and then along the way you learn a whole bunch of new stuff about your own sport.
And then you talked about your previous university a little bit, that was Barton College,
Yep.
and you had a lot of success there. I wrote this down. Some of the things that you had was best conference records in program history for both sides of men and women for track, 13 men and 11 women all conference, and 12 men and 5 women for all region.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we did pretty well. A special team, a great group of kids. A very different dynamic being in the South in North Carolina. We had some kids that were just hard workers, listen to coach, they good academics, and I mean all of those things. If you have a good head on your shoulders, will play out into some results. You know, I just stand back and clap and tell them to turn left. That's it.
Just like racing and NASCAR, just how everybody just
turns left. They make my job really easy, you know. And a lot of the team we have here at Lindenwood, we have a great group of young men and women, and I'm really excited to get to work with them and have more of the same.
And now a big thing that a lot of people don't really realize that comes into running is weather. Because when you come from the East Coast, the weather's not the same as it is in Missouri. Here in Missouri, it's either freezing cold or really hot. There's no really in between there.
Yeah.
Does that play into training at all?
Oh, 100%. And for certain event groups, a little bit more than others, but we're lucky enough here to have some great facilities, indoor and out, and then we have to be creative as a coaching staff to make sure that we're able to provide what the athletes need to stay fit, right? Right now is a great time of year for us because we get to train outside. As the winter hits, we're going to have to bounce around and make sure that we're getting them into some spots where we can be productive, and I think that we'll be okay. It's going to be definitely a lot chillier here than it was in North Carolina, but we're ready for the challenge. We'll be okay.
And I don't know if you've ever coached a national champion before, but Junior Ariel Jackson won the national championship in the 200 meters last season, the first national championship in track and field program history.
Yeah.
What is it going to be like coaching her?
Oh, it's going to be something special. I've had a national championship team on a relay for the distance medley relay. Having an individual is pretty different. I mean, having multiple All-Americans under my belt, I think that's something that's going to be pretty easy. Ariel is somebody that's a hard worker. She's super talented. So really what we want to do is just continue to build off of the success that she's already had, right? We don't want to change the wheel. We want to make sure that we're giving her a lot of the staples that she's going to need, hitting the right energy systems and doing a lot of the right technical things, and then her talent's just going to shine through.
And then more on the track and field side of things, the first meet is until December 2nd. That's in Bloomington, Illinois.
Yep.
I know you guys have already started training, but more like, I want to get into the question of what's it like traveling for every single meet? Because you never really have a home meet. You just travel all the time.
We travel all the time. We're used to it as track and field athletes. The winter season is that. I mean, if you don't have an indoor facility, you're not staying home. And we're just, I mean, it's something that's part of our day-to-day. We know that we're going to be home Monday through Thursday usually, and then we're going to hit the road and we're going to be gone. And we have to make everybody else's facilities our home course, right? We need to make sure that we bring that confidence as we go on the road daily. And then when we're on the road for conference championships and for NCAAs, you got to make that home. You have to be ready to perform no matter where you are.
And then you took a step away from coaching a little bit early in your career. You stepped away from college. And the biggest thing that I want to get to here, and I think one of the coolest things on your resume, is that you were participating in the NFL Combine as a like strength and conditioning coach, basically. Did you work with any like pretty prominent NFL players?
Okay, so what we were was a performance facility where we would train guys to get ready for the NFL Combine. And then what we would do is we'd basically, travel with them as they go to their combines and their pro days and help prepare them for those. Few guys, nobody who's super prominent. Most of the guys just had a cup of tea with the NFL here and there, practice squads. Some guys have made the 52-man roster, but nobody that's been a real big standout. A lot of great guys, a lot of hard workers, but nobody that's really been able to shine on the scene as of yet. So.
And we'll step back into Lindenwood now. Again, in your first season, what type of goals have you set for yourself and for the team as well?
The team this year, one big step for us is that we're going to need to make sure that we are one big family as far as just our community and our dedication to representing the Lions. That's a big goal for us as a team, and everybody is behind that. Performance-wise, really what we want to do is take a step up in the MIAA conference this year and make sure that we're continuing to progress as a team. The men's cross-country team won the conference championship last year and is going to be in a position to possibly do it again, but it is going to be tough. The women are going to be able to take a step up this year with the talent that we have, and then on the track side, the same thing. Also making sure that we have a little bit more consistency bringing athletes to the national scene. The men's cross-country team, again, has a shot to go out of the region this year. And then on the track side, we have some very talented individuals and some relays that we can be able to put together that should be able to make the indoor and outdoor national championships. And what we really want to see is just overall growth in the program and making sure that we can send kids consistently and then have a better team score at the NCAAs.
And then when it comes to scouting, you're talking a lot about the players. Players fade out because they graduate, and then you have to bring in new players. So when it comes to scouting for you, just to get your mindset of what is the furthest that you've ever had to either travel to go get a scout or to go on a scouting trip, or just how do you go about doing your job there?
So the traveling is again part of the game. Being in Massachusetts, you'd go as far as Virginia. Being in North Carolina, I go as far north as New Jersey. Maybe coming out west a little bit to Texas. Here we're pretty centrally located, so we get to go to Chicago. I get to get some kids from Texas. So those are some of the trips that we'll be making. A few kids from the East Coast, going back into that New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia area. And then we have a lot of local talent that's here, whether you're talking about Indianapolis, right here in St. Louis, or going into Kansas City. So I don't think that we're going to have to travel too far, but with track and field, there's a wide range of student athletes that we're looking for, characters, number one, and then making sure that we're finding the right fit for the institution. So we'll be traveling a bit, hopefully not too far all the time, as we're always away on our competitions, but we'll definitely be trying to make sure that talent-wise we have a niche that we're going to be going after within the team, and then the right character fit for the institution again.
And then, Coach, just really fast, a quick answer for you when it comes to the schedule. What's going to be your favorite spot to travel to?
Ooh, I love Pitt State's 300-meter indoor facility. It's just a fast track. The field events have a great area where everybody can be viewed. A lot of great performances there. They have what we call elevated runways for the pole vault and for the long jumpers and triple jumpers. It's just a beautiful facility, and there's always guaranteed some great performances there.
Well, great, Coach. Thank you so much for joining us again. That's Coach Nicholson of cross country and men and women's track and field here at Lindenwood University. We can't thank him enough for his time joining us here. For myself, Andrew Rogers, signing off. This has been Lion Pride Sports.